Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Well, welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee. Sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which of course means from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Harry or the brains of the outfit, Leticia, and please tell them that Stone sent you. Oh, you guys are in for such a treat this morning. A little bit later in the program, we're going to get a chance to visit with Cedric Allen. But first up on the Cherokee Business Radio show this morning, please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Georgia Center for Employee Ownership, Launch Manager, Miss Marie Davis. Good morning.
Hi, Stone. Thanks for having us here today.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you join us. So tell us a little bit about, and we don't have to say all of that. We've got an acronym or whatever, GACEO. Tell us, mission, purpose, what are you out there trying to do for folks?
Well, that stands for the Georgia Center for Employee Ownership. And what we do is provide education and spark interest for this long ago idea that Congress passed in 1974 that employees can actually own their own business. And it's a really exciting and sort of hidden gem. And I've brought some wonderful people here, Rhett and Sheila, to help me. They're the technical people. I'm the excitement person. So we're here to talk about that today.
Fantastic. Well, I knew when they walked in, I thought, now these two, they got it going on.
Don't say they look smarter than me.
Oh, no, I got more social skills than that. So employee ownership, what are the virtues of employee ownership? What are the positive aspects of if you have an employee-owned company, why is that good?
Ooh, well, there's a long list, but I will tell you that most employee owners see a higher rate of employee retention, which is very important. They see loyalty to the company. They see increased wages. They're just happier people. Why? Because they have stake in the company. And if you've ever walked in a Publix, that's what everybody knows. If you've ever walked in a Publix or you've ever eaten a Cliff Bar, you've been in an employee business.
I did not know that. I didn't know Publix was an employee.
100%. And that's another thing that they're going to tell you about is that some companies are not 100% employee owned. The owner can sell part of their company and still retain ownership until they get ready to retire.
Fun.
Yeah, so that's one of the major benefits. Another one is legacy. And, there are so many small businesses. There are actually 78,326 businesses in Georgia that are owned by people 55 and over.
Well, that makes me feel better.
And so we're in danger of losing those if people don't have a succession plan, which most people do not. And so employee ownership is one of the great tools to plan for that. And they're going to talk about it, not me, because they actually do the work and have been in an employee-owned company. But it's a very exciting concept, and that's what attracted me to say, hey, I'd like to be your cheerleader for this launch. So here I am. So
tell us more about the backstory. How in the world does one find themselves in the role of launch manager for an outfit like this? I mean, this is not something you go to school for specifically.
Absolutely not. I have a financial background, but I also have a social work degree. But I saw it advertised on LinkedIn, and I called them, and then I just happened to tell the story of my family. And my family, my parents moved here in 1955. They both had master's degrees and started a business on Beaufort Highway. And 40 years later, my father got critically ill, and his 3 daughters did not want to work in the landscape business. He was a horticulturist in landscape business. And so he just let it go. Now, if he had known about employee ownership, at one time he had 40 employees, those people could have had a piece of that pie. And this was a long time before there was landscape companies or, Lowe's and Home Depot that have, people. There weren't those sort of options back then. And so I think about what it would have meant to my father to see that legacy. And that's really important in rural communities. When there's a family-owned business, that goes away, and so do the jobs. Or if they just sell it, the people that buy it are going to bring in their own team of management. And there goes those jobs. There goes the name. There goes the business. So I got the job because they were like, you understand, you get it.
Right. So, yeah, but that leads to, there is a real impact on the community, and apparently it's a very positive one for this whole idea of employee ownership. I'm thinking about, for those of you who may trip over this 6 years from now, we're broadcasting live from a little studio in Woodstock, Georgia. And it's a great, thriving community. We have a lot of small businesses here. And I can think of the impact on this community if, God forbid, the daily draft goes away.
Yes.
Or Roots. Any of my bars, Rhett.
There you go.
I would like to think that the team, could somehow have a piece of it and keep it going. If the dailies, and that's their name, were to say, we're out, we're going fishing or whatever.
And think about the breweries. They don't want those people that know their secrets going somewhere else. That's just an example. But to tell you that owners, you asked me about benefits.
Yeah.
Owners can sell all or part of the business. The employees pay nothing, zero.
Okay, you got to extrapolate or whatever.
Well,
I'm going to say more
I'm
about.
Let the,
all right, we'll get the subject matter experts in here in a minute.
But there are no taxes on the portion owned by employees, and the tax savings can help pay off that loan.
Wow. All right, so it's information like that that most of us don't have a clue about. So is that a big part of your job or your team's job, is just to educate and get out there and let business owners know this is an option, to let community leaders know this is something that they should endorse or be having conversations with some people about? Is that a big part of it?
It is. And the more people we get in front of, we've been to the Small Business Development Center in Athens. We're hoping to do a conference with them. We've been to the Georgia Chamber Executive Conference and spoke to them because they know businesses in their community all over Georgia. We've been to the Georgia Economic Development Association, but we need to get really in front of more people and remind them of this excellent possibility. So any time you need a speaker, I think the JCs would just be fabulous for this because, they think they're too young to think about retiring, but there are plenty of young employees that go the employee ownership or the co-op route.
Yeah.
And so anybody really could say, it's not me, but my dad's family needs to hear this story.
So is that a good vehicle for you to kind of do the Rotary JC kind of circuit and go and have like a brief presentation and share with them what you're doing and what the benefits are? That's
absolutely. We've got lots of PowerPoints and lots of wonderful people that actually have been through the process and can speak to what it's like and some of the benefits. One of our board members works for Essential Ingredients in Lawrenceville, and I got the opportunity to tour that facility, and it was fascinating. And the CFO came over and he said, my father worked for United Airlines, and they were employee-owned, and he tried to talk me out of this. And I said, well, how does he feel now? And he said, he's our greatest cheerleader because he's seen what this company has just blown up and how happy the employees are now to be a part of an employee-owned company.
Fun. All right, let's don't make them wait any longer. Let's bring in the subject matter experts. Who have you brought with you?
I brought Miss Sheila Eads and Mr. Rhett Farris.
All right. Well, Sheila, let's start with you. Tell us about your organization and your connection with all this.
Well, I am the president and CEO of ERB Industries, and we've been we just recently sold the company, but before that we were an Esop company starting in 1997. So I was the CFO at that time, and so I really helped the owners transition over to an Esop and have just gone through the whole gamut from the time of inception to the time of the sale.
Okay, so Esop. Another acronym. Let's get me particularly, but also our listeners. Is this what you are when you've done what she's advocating?
Yes.
Okay.
Once you transition over to employee stock ownership plan, you become a different entity. Not necessarily, we still are ERB Industries, but the ownership is under the guise of an ESOP, which is sanctioned under the DOL. So there's certain regulations
a lot
you
of
have to do. Sorry. The
Department of Labor. I got that.
Department of Labor.
Bingo. Okay.
Yes. And so, there's a whole thing that's set out that you need to work through with your attorneys and everything. But we are a good example of a success of an ESOP.
Yeah. So
tell them where you're located. I'm sorry.
No,
and we're just located straight up the street, like a mile away from here in Woodstock.
Oh,
yeah,
baby.
So that's fantastic.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is cool. So what was the catalyst? We didn't have Marie back then. So what was the catalyst? What prompted you guys to do this?
Well, the founder of the company was started in 1956, and the founder was looking for an exit strategy. And some of these are just things that he was thinking through is like he tried to get a CEO that could run the company. That didn't necessarily work out, because he wanted to take a step back, and that didn't work out at that time. And then he started talking to estate planners and, how to transition the business. There wasn't a family link that was going to be able to take it over. And so he started talking about, with some of the attorneys in Atlanta about an ESOP. And the beauty of an ESOP is if you do a certain kind of transaction that's sanctioned by the IRS, it's called a 1042 transaction. The founder of the business, when they sell it, they do not have capital gain tax.
Oh,
Yay!
Wow. No, that's huge, right?
It's big.
That's a big deal, right, Rhett?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Rhett, your organization and the catalyst for what got you, or where are you in this situation?
Okay, so I'm vice president at Censeo Advisors. We're located in Northwest Atlanta, but we have clients all over the country. We're a financial advisory services firm, and we primarily provide valuation services for closely held businesses.
Okay.
In the realm of ESOPs, most of them are not publicly traded, so it requires someone like us to come in and do a valuation. In terms of an ESOP transaction, you would do an initial evaluation to advise the ESOP trustee on what to pay for the company, the terms of the transaction, and so forth. So we're basically advisors to companies like Sheila's.
Okay, so you're a strategic resource to facilitate this whole process and help and help everybody navigate the what I suspect is some pretty interesting, challenging terrain that you gotta know what you're doing.
Yes. So an ESOP transaction, and I may be jumping ahead a little bit here, but it's really an arm's length transaction.
Okay.
So you have the trustee of the ESOP, which usually hires someone like us to come in and do evaluation of the company, the subject company, and advise them on what to pay and the terms. And then on the other side, the sellers or the business owners have their own advisors, and they're doing the same thing that we're doing. So with their advisors in hand, they are able to negotiate the transaction and sell the shares of the company to the ESOP. And then from there, the ESOP, the shares held within the ESOP are generally allocated to the employees over time. And that really, it really gives them the financial reward that everyone's talking about here in terms of loyalty to the company and that sort of thing. So it's really just a great vehicle to provide additional motivation and reward to employees that have helped these companies become what they are today.
All right, so let's walk this through. Guys, if you ever want free consulting advice, get yourself a radio show, because that's how I use it. So I own 40% of a company called Business RadioX. Right.
Yes.
And I was telling you before we went on air, my day job is not really doing this. We're growing the company, and I'm finding people to do what we're doing here in other markets across the country and maybe one day internationally. Me and another guy own it. He owns 60%. I own 40%. We would love for all of those people who are running these studios at some point to own this. right?
Yes.
So I got 100 questions, but let me start with a few. How early should we be reaching out to a Marie or a Rhett, or saying, "Hey, can we talk to somebody that's done it?" And and take Sheila to lunch. When should we start having conversations about this kind of thing, you think? And I'm really asking all three of you, but I'll start with Rhett.
Yeah, so the companies that we deal with, we've dealt with fairly new companies that are ESOP companies, that have been around for just a handful of years. And then we've dealt with companies that have been around for 100 years plus. So it's really a wide array of the age of the companies that we deal with.
So we don't have to be at the point of exit.
No, not necessarily.
Well, you said Publix. They're not getting. Nobody's getting.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. And in terms of the non 100% employee owned companies, you can sell 30% of the business to an ESOP and still retain the 70%.
All right.
So you don't have to actually sell the entire company and give up complete control of the company right away. You can kind of test the water, so to speak, and we have that happen quite a bit with the companies we deal with.
So did you guys consider that, Sheila?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
Oh, okay.
We kind of tiptoed into it as a 30% owned company, and once we worked on that for about 4 or 5 years, then we moved over into 100% ESOP. And I want to say the beauty of that 100% ESOP is at that point, not only do the employees have a tax advantage, but the company no longer pays federal or state income taxes.
Man, you're just dripping honey in my ear.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's really important, because when you start paying employees as they terminate, so this is another thing that happens when an employee has been in the ESOP for a while and they've vested some of their shares and they have, decided to move on, you do need to pay them. So you're having to come up with cash flow, and that savings from not paying taxes is essential.
Okay, so I'm an employee of the company, and I'm slowly or on some rhythm, I'm getting a little ownership of this company I'm working for, and then I want to go somewhere else. Then I've got a little bit of money here, and the company will pay that out. That's part of the deal.
That's right, and that's exactly why we use a company like Rhett's, because they have to value the company every year, so that employee, when they leave, they know what their new value is.
I see.
Yeah, and I'll add to that the shares held with the ESOP, within the ESOP, they have a put right attached to those shares. So basically, what that means is the employee that either retires or otherwise leaves the company has a right to sell that share back to the company, and the company has the obligation to buy that share back. So it creates a market for those shares that otherwise would not exist because it's not a publicly traded company.
So I got to ask you, Rhett, what do you enjoy the most, man? What's the most rewarding part of this work? Because I can tell, I can see in your eyes. I know our listeners can hear it in your voice. This is something. This is not you drudging off to work. You really enjoy this, don't you?
I really do. I've been doing it for quite a while, so I've seen pretty much everything there is to see in terms of ESOP world. But I really enjoy seeing the motivation that ESOPs instill in the employees. No matter what the position at the company. You can be from the senior leadership all the way down to a brand new employee of the company, and once the employees buy into the notion that they're an owner, it really motivates them and it really drives them to do what's best for that business.
They start turning the lights off, don't they?
They do.
I'll bet. All right. So the money to buy in. Is that coming out of my paycheck and just scraping it off the top so I don't see it? Talk a little bit about nuts. Okay, Sheila, how's this piece?
I mean, the employee doesn't pay anything.
Right.
They get allocated shares every year. They don't have to pay anything for them at all.
Wow. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't get it. Right? Because it's, I don't know. I guess I'll just
let me explain it this way. Once you become 100% ESOP owned, you can look at that company, like you can go look at our building and you can say, That is a retirement plan. It's like a 401k. We are a complete retirement plan. And so everything that we do in the business is for that retirement plan. It does shift when you're running a company, it shifts your thought process. There is growing the company and investing in the company, but you're also, and I say it like this, you're still also the fiduciary over your employees' retirement plan. So not only do you have to worry about paying their paycheck every other week, you have to worry about, being the fiduciary over this long-term goal of retirement.
What a recruiting tool this must be. Right? If you have if you're interviewing, you're trying to go after someone that's, is that true?
We tell that to everybody, but not everybody understands it because it depends on the sophistication of the person that you're trying to hire, or the employees eventually grasp that, oh, I actually am an owner and I actually do make a difference to the day-to-day work. A lot of that happens after they start seeing their investment in the ESOP grow. It doesn't always click on with everybody right away. Your leadership, however, has to get it. They have to get it because they're the ones that are working to continue the effort to build the business.
All right. So what implications, if any, does this have for becoming intentionally and on purpose because you want to attractive for a larger outfit to come by you? Or are you pretty much giving that up if you're going to do this, or is there actually a path for that?
No, I can answer that. So it's sort of unusual for an ESOP to be purchased like ERB was.
Hey, time out.
Yes.
It's like when I'm doing an interview and people just like squeeze in there, and that's when Mom was dating Elvis. I'm like, okay, put your paper away. We're going to talk about that for a little while. Okay, so ERB did that.
We did
it.
Okay, yes. Talk to that, please, both of you. Go ahead, Rhett.
Yeah. So, Sheila.
You go.
Okay, yeah. So it's sort of unusual for an ESOP company to then sell to a third party.
All right.
And the reason that is because when you become an ESOP and you have that motivation behind those employees, the company generally starts performing much better than a non-ESOP company.
All right.
And so it really sort of turns off potential buyers in terms of purchase price because they don't want to pay what the company's really worth, especially a company that's growing so much.
Gotcha.
But on the other hand, you do have strategic reasons why a buyer may come in and want to buy an ESOP company. And in that case, they generally want to pay a lot more than what we call fair market value for the company. And that really creates a big windfall for the employees that own the business through the ESOP. And Sheila, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with that?
I can just say that we made a decision to sell the company because we knew that the multiples were really good. So we hired an investment banker and decided to start seeing what kind of offers we would get. A lot of the employees had been, we were in ESOP since 1997, so a lot of those employees had been around for a long time, and if the multiples were going to be high on the sale of the business, then yes, it would have been what we needed to do to maximize the value of the shares to the employees that were working there. And so that's exactly what happened. The multiples were very good, and it just made sense to go ahead and sell the business.
And is the people who have ownership, which now includes everybody, how do they have to kind of vote on it, decide on it? How does all that? How does that work?
Yeah, so if it's 100% ESOP owned, then the trustee of the ESOP plan actually is the one that makes that decision. They ultimately makes the decision. And in the ESOP world, a ESOP cannot sell below fair market value, and that's a Department of Labor standard. And on the flip side, the ESOP cannot pay more than fair market value. So
gotcha.
That's really the trustee's role. The trustee decides, hey, is this offer above fair market value? Is it to the benefit of the employees that are participants in the ESOP plan, or is it more beneficial to just remain an ESOP? And in ERB's case, the trustee deemed it appropriate to actually sell because it was more appropriate and more beneficial to the employees.
All right, and so when somebody with Cedric's pockets walks in, buys up an ERB, And then everybody says, yeah, this is great. And that good, dependable, middle class worker guy goes home and tells his wife, yeah, we're going to sell the company. We're going to sell my company.
Yeah.
I can see me saying that.
Yeah.
Holly, we're going to sell.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, is it not an ESOP anymore? So it's not an ESOP at that point.
Yeah, it just becomes just like any other privately held company. It may be a competitor that's buying the business, or it may be just a private equity firm.
But that's a decision everybody goes into, eyes wide open. And the people that bought it obviously see value in ESOP. They may turn around and turn it into one, I guess. I don't know.
They could turn it into a partial ESOP. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So, Sheila, I asked Rhett about this, and we didn't talk much about the actual work at ERB, but I'd like to hear a little bit about what you guys do and what you enjoy about the work of running the company.
Well, I worked downtown. I'll just tell you my short story, but I worked downtown, had a small son, said there's no way I can continue to drive downtown and do all that. So I lived in Woodstock, found this place to work, was a small business, and little did I know that the founder and I would become fast friends, and we had similar thought processes or whatever. But we are a manufacturing company, but we supply safety equipment like PPE, which has kind of become famous since COVID, but we supply PPE to mostly the construction and industrial market. So it's like hard hats and safety eyewear and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then we have another division that sells into the hospitality markets, which are uniform apparel. So mostly to restaurants. And so, just been working on that business. And once we became 100% ESOP owned, I got promoted to be the CEO, and that's kind of when the owner started exiting. Now, I just want to say this as far as the owner exiting. When we did the deal, no bank is going to give you enough money to buy the company. So the bank would finance us for a particular amount of money based on our cash flow or whatever. But the founder had to self-fund, so he had subordinated debt. He at that time became the trustee of the company to kind of watch how I was paying the debt off for him, right? Because he had to get funded. Right. So there's many things what's happening at that point when you first become an ESOP. You're paying the bank debt. You're paying potentially subordinated debt. You are also paying off some terminated employees. Now, at that point, their account values are low because they haven't really accumulated many shares. Right. There's a lot of things going on as far as the cash flow and running the business to grow it, which also takes cash. So there was a lot of years right there at the beginning that debt was the main thing that we had to get rid of. Right. So. But obviously, I've loved operating the company. I stayed there forever. I think it's the best job that anybody could have ever had, and it was totally suited for me. And so, it was a great run. So it's good.
I want to put in a plug for the state centers, which, there are numerous state centers across the country now. That's our parent company is EOX, and that's their plan is to have one in every state so that people like Sheila don't have to try this at home alone. We send them to professionals like Rhett, and so they don't flounder if they want to do this and they don't make a huge mistake, that they know what they're doing, and Rhett will flat tell them, you can't do this. You're not right to go employee owned. And that's why the state centers are so important, is that people have a vehicle to get them to the Rhetts.
I want to just emphasize what Maria is talking about, because I started so early, ESOPs were not really very prominent. And we did have an attorney in Chicago, and we had, a valuation person, which he was very good, but he wasn't really in the ESOP world. And so I was after a few years, I'm running around I need a group of people that really know ESOPs. And I wanted to say that when the founder was talking to attorneys in Atlanta about doing an ESOP, every law firm in Atlanta is going to say, yes, we have an ERISA practice. Yes, we know how to do ESOPs. But the reality is that you need to find your ESOP people. And I'm talking about the people that go to the ESOP conferences, that go and do ESOP valuations, and they are third-party administrators for ESOPs, not just for 401ks or anything else. Because those people were instrumental. Attorneys that know ESOPs, those people were instrumental to me to be able to properly grow the company within the boundaries of an ESOP. So I think it's like super important, and I didn't know anything about this association, but it took me a while to get that I needed the right people in place.
I was in the woods over the weekend. My listeners, they know I like to hunt and fish, and I was driving my brother's truck, and I went one way down this dirt road, and he's like, no, don't go. You will never get back out, right? You know where the holes are that the truck can't get through, right?
Yeah, yes.
And you know some of them too now, right?
No, totally, yeah.
Absolutely.
I just know who's right to go to. You know, now after I've gone through that whole process, and this is great what Marie is doing right now. I think it's going to really help new ESOP potentials.
Well, it certainly sounds like it. So there obviously are a ton of benefits, but there are some red flags, and you need a Rusty, in my case, in the woods, or a Rhett in these woods to to help you think through all that. And it sounds like you need and would be well served to have the backing of Marie and her outfit with the education, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We've got an advisory committee of over 30 service providers, some very big names, who do work in the employee ownership world. And so what we do is we refer them. And so if anybody has an interest, I'm not going to come to your business and evaluate. You will have a professional who knows what they're doing. But I know them, and I can get them to you, and it would be delightful just to hear for some people who would like to hear about it.
So between you and your advocacy and educational efforts, and between more and more people kind of doing this thing, are you seeing a trend of people with hair like mine now trying to reevaluate? Where Lee and I are, we're not just heads down trying to grow the thing. We're also kind of looking at, boy, wouldn't it be cool if all of our studio partners owned the company? Is there a trend in that?
Well,
direction?
there should be, because as I said, we call it the silver tsunami.
Huh.
And what that,
I like that. Yeah.
Well, there's so many business owners 55 and over, and I can tell you, just back to my dad, he was a very well-educated man, but he was running his business. He forgot that there was an end plan somewhere down the road. And before he knew it, he had silver hair. So we'd like for people to know about it and get some ideas before they get to that point. But then again, like Rhett can tell you, there's some young companies and young people. I mean, y'all can't see Sheila's, but she's not silver-haired either. There are people who are young who need to think this through and look at it and say, this is what I want to do, or what I don't want to do, or I want to think about it later.
So I'm thinking about my brother-in-law with a dental practice. Can it be something that small? I mean, I think that Uncle Howie makes good money, and he's got 4 or 5 employees. Is that too small typically? Is there a kind of a line?
Yeah, I would say that's probably a little bit too small. I think, in terms of sort of the key things to look at in assessing whether or not you should consider ESOP is the size of the company.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea, the companies that we deal with in terms of the number of employees, anywhere from 40 to 50 all the way up to...
Okay, but not huge.
Yeah.
40, 50...
Right,
yeah,
right.
okay.
And we deal with other companies that have 4,000 employees. So
right.
There's a wide range there. I think I looked at some statistics, and for those ESOPs that have less than 100 participants, the average is about 43 employees, and that makes up about half of the ESOPs in the United States. So yeah, that's probably about the sweet spot in that 40 to 50 employee range. But obviously, you even have publicly traded companies that are partly ESOP owned as well. So you can have huge companies.
And we probably don't have time to get into this today, but there's another concept called cooperatives.
Yep.
And so for smaller companies, that makes more sense. And I'm the launch manager. I'm not going to try to get into that, but Rhett could probably fill you in more than me. But it's another discussion for smaller, like a dental or smaller company. that might not be qualified for employee
You got to come back, Rhett. I'll buy you another cup of coffee.
I got to be honest with you. We don't really deal with cooperatives all that much. So, but you do have some resources, right,
yes,
Marie,
we do.
on your website. And,
I've withdrawn the invitation.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you got to come back anyway because I know there's so much depth in it. And I mean, and you too, Sheila. Let's do this though. Before we wrap, a couple of things. Let's give our listeners, for those where this is like, they're listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I want to at least start to learn about this. What are some kind of initial steps someone should take? And then let's make sure that we share a way for them to start that process. And so if it's appropriate, maybe leave them with some kind of point of contact. If it's not appropriate, that's okay too, but I don't know, LinkedIn, whatever, email, or maybe it all goes to Marie and Marie is the expediter, but yeah, let's do both of those things.
Okay, well, let me just start with, we have a brand new website, and I'm on there, so I'm definitely on the hook for if you email me or go on the website, I will find your answers for you and refer you to the appropriate person. And that website is GACEO.org.
All right.
Stands for Georgia Center for Employee Ownership.org.
All right. Sheila, you want nobody to bother you?
Well, I was just going to say, if you want to reach me, I think the best way to do it would be through Marie. Because, I mean, I'm still running a business. I'm still got, that responsibility. And so, that would be the best way for me.
But there may very well be a point at which the person's got questions or something, and they want to hear from somebody that, has been there and done that, right?
I have street cred.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do. You got a lot.
And then for you, Rhett, I mean, you guys are doing valuation services only on the ESOP stuff, or just period?
No, we also do valuations for lots of other reasons. One being tax reasons, so gift and estate tax purposes. We do some litigation work. Mm-hmm. We do financial reporting, warrants, options. Complex capital structure. We do a lot of stuff. So, but ESOP is a very big part of our overall practice. So if you do have questions about the valuation process or anything related to that, you can reach me via our website. It's just CenseoAdvisors.com, and my bio is on there, and you can click on the link for email.
Fantastic. All right. And then one more time, let's give them coordinates for you, Marie. Website, email, whatever's appropriate.
GACEO.org. My email is mdavis@gaceo.com. Love to talk to you. There's plenty of buttons on that website. So you cannot go wrong. You'll get in touch with somebody. Please look us up. And if you need a speaker, this is what we like to do. Let me throw this in there, Stone, because it's important. This is what we like to do. We always like to have a professional, one of our service providers, and we like to have a business person who understands what it means to be in an employee company. So that's what we would do if we went to speak in front of you. That's what we would have with us, a team like today. Well,
I got to tell you, it's been an informative and inspiring. Go ahead, Sheila.
Well, I just wanted to have a closing comment. I would say in my life, I think that the fact that I walked into a company that became an ESOP was life-changing, and I know it was life-changing for our employees. I highly recommend it, and it's been a wonderful thing for me to see employees' lives change because of the ESOP.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yep.
This has been a fantastic conversation, informative for me, and inspiring, too, from the standpoint of, I think that in my world, I think we're building something here that maybe one day I do pick up the phone and call Maria and say, okay, let's get this lined up and start thinking this through. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning.
You bet.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Hey,
yes,
how about
thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure. You are welcome. How about hanging out with us while we visit with our next guest?
Sounds great.
Good.
All right, y'all ready for the headliner? He's been he's been nodding his head and he's been taking a few notes. I think he's been very polite, but it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you pastor, shepherd for a group of folks. I think a LinkedIn expert, former Emmy winner, journalist, guy, an all-around good person. Please join me in welcoming to the show, Mr. Cedric Allen. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and it's as I quote from the Bible, there's only one good one, not me. So I don't throw me into that one because I get in trouble already. And people in there, my Bible study would go like, what are you talking about? But thank you, Stone. And I was, when I first heard about this, I thought it was Stone Phillips from Dateline, then said, no, the other Stone.
Not too many of us.
I was like, the other guy. It's like, oh, that guy. Okay, I know him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, well, we're delighted to have you, man. So you wear a lot of hats. Obviously, the one that comes to mind that for me the most, because I see you around town in various with community organizations and business groups. Apparently, you have a real track record and a background in helping people fully capitalize on, leverage their LinkedIn presence. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Right. And my first thing is always as a pastor, so I'm here to help people and be a light in the community, but I'm also your light on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn,
I like that.
That's one of those things. And, Marie just talked about, where she is now because she went on LinkedIn. So I call LinkedIn your professional Facebook, not your disgrace book.
That's great.
Because there's some things on Facebook that's just pretty disgrace. We just go like, did you see that? Or did you see that coming? No. I'm making, I'm making a sandwich. I did not see none of that. I don't want to get involved. So it's one of the things I try to express, especially to businesses. And as people will go on Facebook and they have Facebook ads and everything else. But LinkedIn is really for professional business. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when, some people now think of LinkedIn more so in the past 15 years or more that's been around to say, oh, that's great for if I'm going between career transition or something of that nature. Well, it's not really about you all the time. It's the only place that allows you to talk and promote you. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things of putting your who you are out there. It's your resume and your personality put together. So you can show like in the back cover, the banner they give you, that's your personality. That's where it shows you working or one of those things. Your professional photo. I already looked at yours. Yours is pretty good. It could lose.
I only got so much to work with here, Cedric.
But it's a great thing. And people forget that they have these great stories during the time they've worked at a place, even if it did not really go well. And helping people with career transition, like I do a Zoom group every Friday, 10 a.m. on Zoom. I work with Apex Christian single professionals who allow us to use their line and everything else. You don't have to be Christian or single to be on this. Career Club helps everybody. Mm-hmm. But these are one of the choices I give to, help people with, especially with their LinkedIn of, okay, maybe you want to be your own business owner. We're starting to see that now because of the time away. COVID showed us also that we need to work hard, but also we need to take time with our families, our friends, and be part of the community and help out the community. That's why when you see me, Stone, I'm usually around to be a light in community to say, hey, we're here for you, whatever the problem, whatever is needed. But in the thing of LinkedIn, it's the same thing. You want to have that great picture so people know it. If you read a LinkedIn profile and you just go through it and you just go through it and don't remember anything, it's not a good profile. But I do profiles that make people want to go, I want to meet this person. I want to sit down. I want to talk to this person. They have something, not just for the job, but I want to get to know this person. You were just talking about having a cup of coffee, or maybe you're at the bar and you get what you get. I tell people, get me a Mexican Coca-Cola, we'll be okay. Or maybe a hot chocolate if it's a very cold day. Those are the kind of beginning conversations and talking to people and saying, hey, I want to get to know you. I just read this thing about you. I see this vision. I see this passion. I see this heart. How can I know you? So those are some of the things I'm looking at, when I'm talking to it. And I don't do it in a general speak. It is your voice. I just clear it up for you. So when you're talking to people, it's you.
So people actually engage you to say, hey, Cedric, here's my LinkedIn profile, and I know it's not quite what it should or could be. You'll actually consult with them and help them redesign that to be appropriate for what they're trying to accomplish.
Definitely. One of the people that Barbara Sobel, for those that don't know, RX, I think she just recently changed her company, but she deals with waterproofing and everything else. I helped her daughter recently with her LinkedIn profile. And just in about an hour and 30 minutes, I got up to All-Star. She had no connections after I was done with it, but then we started connecting with people. But it's sitting down with her and just having a conversation. Right. And I think we've missed those kind of things, having conversations and saying, okay, what are you looking to do? As I talk to people in transition, what do you do, what you love to do? That's that thing. You'll do it for, been doing for free, but you want to get paid for.
Right.
So I help them structure their LinkedIn. If you're already doing things like Walter with A&P Flooring, we just did his company page and his profile. And we started to talk to him just about getting into what do you do, what do you love to do, and just starting to feature the things. Walter's been everywhere. He's done flooring, he's done, painting and all these other things. But, the pictures are out there. It's all in the Facebook, but it's not covering over to the LinkedIn. And if it doesn't come over to the LinkedIn, you're missing a great yield, especially to business owners. You have each month with LinkedIn. Here's a little tip for you. You have these invitations that you can have somebody follow your page. And depending on how many connections you are, you can have at least 100 invites for people just to follow your page. That's free press. If you want to boost it, then you could go and get some of the paid ads and they'll let you do a couple free ones. But this is just free connection. Say, hey, follow my page. Why? Well, I have an interesting tip. Something like, if you're on LinkedIn, I call it my LinkedIn lookup. Why is this thing they call people also viewed there? Here's a little hint, folks. You want to take that off and go to the settings and turn it off. The reason is that's your competition. So you have some friends, but that's your competition. So if you're in career transition or you have a business and you see this thing on the side, you may want to turn that off, but LinkedIn also has this little thing talking about people you may know, which they try to, their job is to keep connections. I look at them and go, your job is to drive me nuts every week because you keep changing things. There's little ways to just connect with people on LinkedIn and just also promote things. If you had an event, say you were on Business X Radio, you could share that on LinkedIn, copy, paste, link, boom. Or if you have the actual video file, upload it. All these things, pictures, things that's, depending on legality, of course, but just all these things to promote. I've worked with people like Ian Johnson with her, what she does with insurance, depending on social media.
Sounds like you've worked with everybody I know in town.
Well, there's a lot of people that, you see these things and people go,
right.
You're just sending that through a bigger funnel. If they see video, it's 80% yield on LinkedIn. They're going to look at it. If you have a profile picture, that's 40% more that you're going to be found. There's little things of just, having a showcase in a company page. You have a company and a business. Well, if I scroll down and I see gray thing around your, profile, and I know I'm just starting to get, this week is my off week. So even though I have some meetings this week, I'm able to start to catch up because I do other things. I help at Compass Prep Academy with their newsletter, being a chaplain and things of that nature and teaching there. So hello to those guys and gals. Just a great place for hybrid learning and everything else from different careers. We have young people there that are already starting. There's 3 people that have a landscaping business there.
Wow.
When do you sleep?
What time is sleep? I don't know. What day is it?
So those are some things that you can do to make it better. What are some just absolute no-nos? Or there's some red flags? Like whatever you do, Stone, on your LinkedIn, don't do this.
Well, the people also viewed it's just already in there, so you got to turn that thing off.
Okay, all right.
You got to show your picture. Have a good picture. I used to call them the Kardashian shot. Do not do the Kardashian picture. They'll go, hey, look at me. Or you're in a party. It's like, hey, it's all of us. And you're a person that's looking at you that's either about to do business with you, or if you're in transition, goes like, what kind of party was that? And, I don't know.
Right, so the inappropriate picture for your situation.
Inappropriate picture.
Right.
And you want to give, don't leave it with just resume speak. Well, I did this and this and this. Okay, I want you to have metrics. I want you to have those percentages. I want you to have all these things. But tell me a story. If you go to, say we were talking about eating somewhere. Well, if you go to your favorite burger place, say a Canyon's down the street, great guys and everything else down the street, say hello to them. And you go to Canyon's.
Now I'm going to have to send them an invoice. You know that, right?
I hope not. Well, they're worth it. Sell them the Censeo burgers or something. But if you walk down there and you're going for a burger, if your LinkedIn profile looks just like the bun and a little bit of sauce, but no meat, no vegetables, no nothing.
Yeah.
What kind of what kind of thing is going to be,
Right.
These are the things that we're looking at and everything else. And if you have a business, the one thing that will give you great legitimacy is showing that symbol on the side. So they scroll down, they click to it, they go to your company page.
Oh, because you want to make it real easy to go back and forth between company page and
right. And if you're just a solo entrepreneur or a small business, it's a great thing because I could go click, Boom, I'm over on your page. And they're like, they'll read more about your about. And then they say, wait a minute, I want to go to your website. Click there. One of the things that happens, and a lot of business owners don't know, that sometimes LinkedIn, because they want to help you, will sometimes make you a company page and you have no clue it's out there.
Oh, my. Did not know that.
Or if there's a similar name as somebody has dealt with a client and this happened, I said, yeah, I see you have a company page. Yeah, but it's not going to your company page. He's like, what? Yeah, it's going to something else. And we clicked on it. It was something else. He's like, wait a minute. I have a legit LinkedIn company page. I know. Let's change that around. Make sure that your emails, your phone numbers, those things, your location. You can even put on LinkedIn your location. I was looking for a certain place that's where I am right now. There's 3 locations. The location where I'm at right now is not on the LinkedIn page. It just says location or here. And you're going, we need to promote that. That's little things that we forget because we're too busy meeting people, networking, doing the things. But those are also important because after you make that connection, after you make the phone call, after you meet with them, everything else, they go back and want to look it up and see if you're worth doing business. They go back and go like, that's not, there's nothing there.
Right.
I don't know about this. They taught me in, but I don't know. I'm about to walk out. So you have to have everything uniform and everything else. I understand being busy. Trust me, I am probably one of the kings of just being busy. But it's one of those things you wanted your light in LinkedIn to shine so much that they can go, wow, I want to talk to this person, that individual, everything else.
So, but someone can engage you, and we're not talking about weeks and weeks of work. We're talking about a few hours of some Cedric magic.
Right.
Right.
Well, we won't call it magic. Pastor can't say the word magic here.
Oh, okay.
Wisdom.
Cedric wisdom. Right.
With some discernment there.
But yeah, it's not like you're engaging you for like weeks and months. It's a few hours. You can really tune this thing up. Maybe occasionally get some counsel on updating and that kind of thing. Get some because you're a pro. Now you're also investing quite a bit of time, energy, resources in helping. Is it young people through navigating careers, or is it young and old, or are you
everybody? Everybody
things?
That's going through a career transition. It's just basically shepherd. That's the shepherding part of the ministry. Really, you're taking that person where they are at that moment. Ironically, when I was with the DoD and the U.S. Army at CASCOM with Team Advancia, they came up with this thing with lifelong learning, sustainment knowledge network. This is back in 2006, so this is early e-learning. And they started to know that as people were retiring or leaving the service, the next group, because they were rushing people out to Afghanistan and Iraq too, real-time in theater, what they call in war, real-time theater, out to the war zones, they were not trained enough. They were not getting the training they need. So they started to do these forums, depositories of information, people giving their experiences, or the group that would come back from a mission and say, well, we went through this one, this thing, did this thing, and yeah, we had the situation. So how did you fix it? Well, this is how we fixed it. Those kind of things.
You were starting to capture that
information, the stories, and redistribute. So it was easier. So how do you write this report? Instead of just yelling at the guy, just go write the report. And the guy who thought of this, he thought of this just from reading scripture. He just said, this is how I got my idea on this. So he started to do that. This is the same thing here. So you're working with people wherever they are at that point in their situation. They could be divorced, single, whatever they're going through, believer, non-believer, whatever it is, and just say, how can I get you from this point to the point you need to get to? I tell people all the time, don't tell me for 20, 30 minutes what you don't want to do. Or what you tell me, or better yet, don't tell me this, and then say, I don't want to do that. Why? Because I want to get you to where you want to go. We already got enough people. You've already gone through that. Where do you want to go? And if you don't know, that's fine. That's part of the process. Yeah. We talk, we listen, everything else. I don't put people in a box. I help you think outside a box.
So is it largely one-on-one work, or do you do classes, or a little bit of both?
These days it's more on Zoom, or just whenever I talk to a person. It could be even while I'm doing my LinkedIn with them and said, okay, so what is that title that's you? I had that about 2 weeks ago when they were in the session. I said, what is that you? And it was a former colleague that was in the same business where I was working, in the media business. And we talked. I said, well, you have all this, but what you're telling me is not reflected on that part under there that says your title.
Yeah.
So who are you? And then she thought about it. I said, from what you're telling me, you want to do this, this, this. Put it in there because they'll find you. Because when we do searches in Google search, LinkedIn searches, that's what I'm looking for. Your name comes up at the top of the list. And I talked to her about go back to that sandwich. She had so many different positions, such great experience, but it was basically bread, a little bit of sauce, bread. I said, I need more meat. I need some veggies. I need to have the sandwich because, if I'm going to they want to take a bite of it, but when they show up, it's like, where's the beef? Where's the veg? If you're vegan, you're going, what? There's nothing. You can't consume it. You want to make a connection. Everybody wants to make a connection with the person they're trying to reach. And if that connection is not that good, it's not going to happen. And it's just, and a lot of people think this is a hard process. It's not. It's just you working out, and you'll be surprised. The funniest story I've ever had, one of the funniest, former colleague of mine back in a little network downtown that was run by a guy I called Uncle Ted. At that time, we were talking back and forth. He was in transition. He's working, thank God, now. A great job and everything else. I talked to him. I said, we both had this Emmy Award thing for 9/11, right? Yeah. I said, there's got to be some other ones. He's like, oh, yeah. He starts raffling off this stuff. And I stop after a minute. I go like, why is that not on your profile? I just didn't want to show off. You need that on your profile. How they're going to know that you're this great guy? This is a guy that was working satellite trucks, ENG trucks, and he was doing Katrina and I believe the elections at the same time.
So it's okay to show off a little bit, right? Or it's not really showing off if it's framed properly.
If it's framed properly, but also this is your experience.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking for somebody in the business, usually you want the best or the best within your price range. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm looking for the best. If he doesn't put that out there, I'm looking for that guy. If I see him and goes back to the story, I'm reading this and everything else. Steve Austin could walk out to the LinkedIn profile like, start reading, say, this guy's boring. I'm going to get a pillow. I'm going to start going to sleep instead of him going, dang, brother, we got to get him on the line. Get him on the phone right now. Now. There's the difference between those two in those and you've read profiles that you went like, and then you read profiles like, I got to subscribe to their email. I got to follow them on LinkedIn. I got to follow them on Facebook. Where is their website? I got to go start subscribing to what they're talking about. Those are the things.
So we will have you back in and maybe do a whole LinkedIn special episode, maybe get some other folks. But I'm not going to let you out of here without telling us about the Emmy. You won an Emmy, right?
The Emmy was for news gathering coverage for CNN covering 9/11 out of CNN Atlanta. It was I'm one of the few that can actually say when the world was booked, I was able to get 2 to 3 news feeds in a video where everybody else was either the whole thing was locked down, or in some cases, some people were kind of borrowing CNN signal because everybody was like, oh, we got to show this. We got to show that. We don't know what's going on. So it's an interesting time. If you were in news, you got this Emmy, but it was doing that and everything else. I think the thing you probably will know me more for would be the first video pictures of the shuttle breakup in 2003 in Dallas, Texas. Or as I call it, yes, I made the president leave his Camp David on vacation to come and address the world about what's going on. Yeah. So just that kind of story and just breaking news and things of that nature. But yeah, that was the Emmy and some other parts. And what an interesting background. All right.
If people who are listening would like to have a conversation with you or someone in your circle, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you? Well, I'm thinking LinkedIn may be a place.
LinkedIn is the place. I usually send everybody there. This Cedric S. Allen on LinkedIn.com. You'll see me with the microphone and everything else. And that would be the easiest place. I also have a couple of showcase pages. I've done some upgrades on the Be Real with God Ministries, just trying to be very selective because a lot of things I do kind of mix with each other. So, but the LinkedIn profile page is the better page for me. I also have a little bit of YouTube, a couple of videos, but it's just a little bit of everything else. But go to the LinkedIn and everything else as I'm killing out all these my own
That's
alarms.
Cedric's phone you guys are hearing.
Yeah, the other alarm, because usually during this time I'm usually either up or I'm already at somewhere, and I have this back in the brain thing of okay, where's my time?
Well, you already admitted that you're one of those busy guys. All right, so one more time, just link the LinkedIn thing. Let's make sure we get them to that.
So it's linkedin.com, I believe, /Cedric S. Allen. Look me up there. You'll find me as Senior Pastor Shepherd and everything else with LinkedIn and all these other things. Easiest thing, I always joke with people, especially when I'm doing all these things, remind me where I met you. Because if I don't remember, and it's general for everybody, it should be like, remind me where I met you, because there are weeks where I used to joke, and I could still do it. By the time Friday comes, I could be in Hawaii on a Zoom meeting at 5 p.m.
Right.
Because it's just that many things, because in person, out of person, different places, depending where I'm going.
Well, thanks so much for coming in today, man. Don't be a stranger. I'm quite sincere about that. I think it might be fun. It might be fun to have. I think you've got a group of kids that our buddy John Clunan was talking to.
Right, at Cuppers Prep Academy, where it's pre-K to 12. It's hybrid learning. It's Christian, but it's not. We don't go so far in certain things, but it's about helping people find their compass. It is really about them finding out what they want to do, how they want to do it, and with John Clunan with Audacity Marketing, he came by 2 weeks ago and was talking to our middle school class that was just starting to do their own business and do business entrepreneurial class.
Fantastic.
And now they have the new, they're going to kill me because I'm trying to remember this as early, for the new snack shop there. I think they called it, I don't know, they're going to kill me for this one. But
we'll get them in here to talk about it maybe, or we'll take something out there and put them on a business radio show. Anyway,
either way.
We have a great affinity for young entrepreneurs.
Right.
And we want to invest in that. So you and I have lots of reasons to connect on different things.
Right. And one more thing I'm going to say hello for Share Connections, 12 noon every first and third of the month on Wednesday at 12 o'clock. It's for Christian business people connecting and everything else. That's how Marie and I kind of met a little bit over online, but we haven't, with first time face to face, as I knock over the microphone because I'm crazy and having too much caffeine here. But it's one of those things that I do producer and camera work for them, and I'm right across the hall from, of course, you, as you know, but we see each other, but we're never doing shows at the same time because of that. So.
Well, we'll have to do some more.
We'll have definitely.
Thanks for coming in and hanging with us, and thanks everybody. It's been a great way to spend a Tuesday morning.
Thank you.
All right,
Stone.
You are more than welcome. This is Stone Payton for Cedric Allen, Marie Davis, Sheila. I don't remember your last name.
It's Sheila Eads.
and Rhett Farris, and everyone here at the Business Radio X family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.